Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this meeting of the Licensing Act 2003 Subcommittee today, which is Monday, the 16th of December. Declarations of a pecuniary, non-pecuniary and prejudicial interest. Anybody? No, we haven't any. Okay. To approve as a correct record the minutes of the subcommittee is held on the 5th and the 16th of September, pages 1 to 8. Happy with those? Okay, approved. The main purpose of the meeting is item 3, the application made under section 17 of the Licensing Act 2003, Great Driffield AFC, Cemetery Lane, Driffield, report of the Executive Director of Communities and Environment, which is on pages 9 to 36, appendix 2 for members of the subcommittee. Okay. Okay, yeah. Moving on to the next bit of the agenda, I have to state that these proceedings are being recorded, and in the event of an appeal to the Magistrates' Court, a transcript will be provided to the court. Please bear in mind that whilst this is not a court of law, all parties will be given a fair hearing. All parties have had a copy of the procedure which will be adhered to. Please would all parties state their name and why they are present for the purpose of this recording. I can start that off by saying I'm Councillor John Dennis. I'm chairing this committee meeting.
Councillor Rick Aaron, member of the subcommittee. Councillor John Boville, also a member of the subcommittee.
Carolyn Ashton, legal advisor to the subcommittee.
Louise Wilson, Health, Safety and Licensing Services Manager, here to present today's report.
Paul Story, Principal Officer, Health, Safety and Licensing.
Jim Laird, I'm Chairman of Great Driffield AFC.
I'm Linda Laird, I'm the applicant and a regular volunteer at Great Driffield AFC.
Peter Fussy, resident of Southfield Close, quite close to the development.
John Wiley, Committee Manager.
Thank you, everyone. I can confirm that members have read all the documents provided by the parties. Further documents will not be accepted unless all parties agree. Are there any additional documents? No, thank you. Do the parties wish to call witnesses? No, thank you. Do the parties wish to ask questions of each other? Say yes. Okay. The time limits for the hearing, although we're not rigid on this, because sometimes it just takes a bit longer to get your point across. Opening statements, 3 minutes. Evidence from any witness, 2 minutes. Questions of other party or witness, 3 minutes. And summing up, 2 minutes. Are all the parties content with the time limits? Although, as I've said, the subcommittee will allow a degree of flexibility so that attendees have enough time to make their comments. Okay, thank you. I now call on the licensing officer for any updates in relation to the application under consideration. Louise.
Thank you, Chair. Just the one update is that members should have received an additional bundle dated on the 9th of December 24, and that will show a map of the area and the car park associated to the application.
Okay, yes, I've got that. So the licensing officer now is to outline the application, representations, and any relevant parts of the licensing policy.
Thank you, Chair. So before you today is an application made under section 17 of the Licensing Act 2003 by Linda Laird on behalf of the Great Driffield AFC. This is for a new premises licence in respect of the Great Driffield AFC on Cemetery Lane in Driffield. And that application was made on the 23rd of October 2024. The application can be seen in full at Appendix 1 of Members' Report. The application seeks to permit the following licensable activities. The sale of alcohol, Sunday through Thursdays, from 12 noon until 8:30 p.m. each day. On Fridays and Saturdays, from 12 noon until 23:30 hours, and that is for on sales only. They also wish to permit indoor sporting events, Sunday to Thursday from 8 a.m. until 9, and on Friday and Saturdays, from 8 a.m. until midnight. They also seek in live music, Sunday to Thursdays, from 12 noon until 9 p.m, and on Fridays and Saturdays from 12 noon until midnight indoors only. And recorded music is also permitted between Sunday to Thursday from 8 a.m. until 9 p.m. and Fridays and Saturdays from 8 a.m. until midnight, again indoors only. They've also applied for the provision of late night refreshment, which is on Fridays and Saturdays from 2300 hours until midnight, indoors only. And they are also seeking one seasonal variation, which is the extension of the hours from midnight on New Year's Eve until 0100 hours on New Year's Day. Under the terms of the Live Music Act 2012 and the Deregulation Act of 2015, live and recorded music is only licensable activities between the hours of 11 p.m. and 8 a.m. for both amplified and unamplified live music if the premises is subject to an alcohol licence. The applicant has offered conditions as part of their application, and these are shown on pages 2 to 3 of the report, and members may wish to consider whether these are enforceable as they've been written, or whether they are statements or duplication of existing legislation, but further advice can be offered to members throughout the hearing on this. The licensing authority is satisfied that the application has been advertised in accordance with the requirements of the Act by means of a public notice on the premises, in the local newspaper and on the council's website. And during the 28-day representation period, 2 relevant representations were received against the application from local residents residing in the locality of the premises. No representations were received from any responsible authority. So when representations are received and not withdrawn, then this matter must be determined by the Licensing Act 2003 subcommittee, who have the following options available to them this morning. And these are shown at section 5.1 of the report, which are to grant the premises licence on the terms applied for, to grant the premises licence subject to the conditions mentioned in the operating schedule, modified to such an extent as the authority considers necessary for the promotion of the licensing objectives, to exclude from the scope of the premises licence any of the licensable activities to which the application relates, to refuse to specify the designated premises supervisor, or to reject the application made. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Louise. Any questions by relevant persons? No questions? Members? Yeah.
Just one question to the applicants there. I know you've applied for a later licence on the Friday and the Saturday. How significant is that to the financial well-being of the club? Thank you.
Chair, I wonder if it may assist if questions could be left until the applicants presented their case, in which case some points may be clarified and then further points may be expanded by our councillor.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we'll do that then. Applicant, open statement and witnesses if necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to, unlike me, I'm going to read from a piece of paper. I hope that's all right, just so I can remember exactly what I wanted to say. So Great Driffield AFC was established in 2002, occupying the Cemetery Lane site under its former name, Driffield Junior Football Club. Over the years, the club has grown in popularity and now has 23 children's teams, including 3 girls' teams, 3 men's teams, a ladies' team, a veterans' team, and walking football. However, due to the limited size of our site, not all teams play at Cemetery Lane. 11 teams actually play their home matches at alternative venues. Since 2002, the only facilities available at the club have been the changing rooms and toilets, and as part of our current development, these have been upgraded to a much higher standard. The aim of the clubhouse, that is nearly completed, is to provide a social hub for both the football community and the wider community. Similar to other sports clubs in Driffield and the wider East Riding, we wish to provide a space for spectators and players to have refreshments and to congregate socially. We will also be offering the clubhouse for community use, as there are very few such spaces available at the north side of Driffield. In terms of the alcohol licence application, I wish to clarify that our clubhouse will not be a pub with regular late night opening hours for the sale of alcohol. We will be adhering to the Challenge 25 rule to ensure no underage drinking and will promote responsible drinking at all times. The application for a later licence on a Friday and Saturday evening is to cover the times when staying open later is required, rather than being every weekend. For example, we may hold charity fundraising functions, quiz nights, or the facility may sometimes be hired by local residents for birthday parties and such like. As a registered charity, we are run 100% by volunteers. Currently, this is a very small group of volunteers who give up a substantial amount of their time to enable football in Driffield to be the success it is. When the clubhouse is open and hopefully selling alcohol, we will be reliant on having appropriate volunteers to run the bar, which is another reason why we are not planning regular late opening every weekend. Although we understand and respect the concerns from 2 residents who live close to the football club, particularly with regards to potential noise disturbance, we believe that these concerns can be effectively mitigated through proactive measures and responsible management as outlined in our licence application. CCTV covering both the outside of the building and the inside of the clubhouse and an intruder alarm system are to be installed towards the end of January, ahead of our delayed planned opening date of the 7th of February. A CCTV monitor will be housed in the clubhouse, and remote access via smartphones will be available to 5 committee members, which includes Jim and myself. CCTV footage will be stored for 28 days and made available to the relevant authorities should that be necessary. We feel that the addition of CCTV will act as a real deterrent for crime and antisocial behaviour in the vicinity of the site, which we know was one concern. Recognising that the clubhouse may potentially be a target for break-ins, we have ensured that all windows and doors have electronic metal shutters installed, and the doors are security doors. These, together with CCTV and the intruder alarm, make the clubhouse as safe as possible. Additionally, early in 2025, the car parking area is to be improved, which includes it being contained by a 1-metre fence. That's the plan that you were all sent a little later than the application. The gates will be locked at times when the site is not in use, providing an additional layer of security for the building. Whilst we cannot be fully responsible for the actions of site users, we do feel a real obligation to encourage and promote positive behaviours when people are using the site and leaving the site if it is opening on an evening. Notices asking people to respect our neighbours and leave quietly will be prominently displayed, as will notices saying that inappropriate behaviour may lead to a ban from the clubhouse. Amplified music will not be a regular occurrence, only for parties and other such events, with only low-level background music being played indoors on a regular basis. When amplified music is being played, if it were to be a weekend, windows would be closed by 11 p.m. at the latest. We are genuinely committed to maintaining an open dialogue with local residents and addressing concerns if and when they arise, which would also include establishing a named designated contact person from the club. Thank you.
Just basically the question that I asked earlier, really. Obviously, from what you've just said, you're not planning to open late every Friday and Saturday. So that, well, I guess will only be dependent upon demand from the local community. So
Yes, very much so. And if there was a function being held by the club that would maybe raise money for the club, with us being a charity, we're totally reliant on grants and donations and such like. So yeah, we're not a business in the sense of a normal business. We just need to make enough money to be able to run the club, basically.
yeah, what I'm thinking is that any income you get from opening late will help the club's finances and making less dependent possibly on grants.
Yes, hopefully that would be the case, yes, because it's quite a complicated situation gaining grants from everywhere. But yes, we just want to make enough to make the club a success, really.
Okay, so one final question regarding the car parking there. So it's going to be secure car park. From that, I take it then it won't be available to cemetery users then if it's a really flow situation.
Yes, if on the plan you'll see that there is a proportion of the current hard standing area is being left open for the cemetery users. And we get dog walkers and things. People drive up with their dog, take the dog out, have a walk around with the dog. So that area is left open. It's about a third, I would say, of about a third of the current hard standing. The grassy area that people park on now, sometimes we have to push them out when it's rained, if you know what I mean. It becomes a quagmire. So we're having the what's that called, Jim? The
It's a grid type system.
grid
like
system.
A crate system with,
Yeah,
it will still be retain its green appearance. There will be grass.
I see it's like reinforced grass or something. It's like
Correct.
grasscrete or whatever they call it or something. Is it that kind of?
it's like at the Park and Ride up at in
Yeah.
Bridlington, it's like that.
I know what you mean.
So that means that there'd be better car parking facilities there, but it would all be contained within a fence, apart from the bit at the end to allow some space for cemetery users. We do have good relationships with the cemetery, though. If ever they wanted us to allow addition, if there was going to be a large funeral, for example,
Yeah.
we would absolutely open it to allow them,
All
you know,
right,
to
so
use that facility.
that option's available
Absolutely.
then.
Yeah.
Right, thank you
think-
very much.
Could I just add that the piece of the car park that we're leaving unfenced, we're actually in negotiations with East Riding Yorkshire Council at the moment about them taking, with a view to them taking ownership of that area, so that it's protected and maintained in that way. That was something when we had an on-site meeting with them about 6-8 months ago. They actually suggested, so we're going down that route. So we are very conscious that other people other than ourselves do use the car park currently. So we want to obviously protect their interests as well.
Sorry, just moving on from the Friday and Saturday, the late night opening. You say the events probably all won't need music anyway, or whatever. Do you envisage how many you'd probably need a year? Have you got a feel for how many? I know it's probably an impossible question, but will it be every other weekend, one a month? Just a rough idea.
Oh, sorry. It is really very difficult. We really don't know, but an estimate might be one a month. It could potentially be fractionally more, certainly not going to be every weekend. But at this stage, we, in all honesty, we wouldn't be able to say.
Thank you. Do you have any questions? Can you press the microphone button, please? Thank you.
Couple of questions with regard to the security. The security cameras will not just be on the new building, it will be on the whole of the car park.
Oops.
That's okay.
I'll just add the area which you've set for the cemetery is the current area where the youngsters park the cars on an evening at the minute.
Yeah.
So, you know, the whole of the car park needs to be covered,
Yeah, it is.
just in case police need evidence of
Absolutely.
something.
Yeah, it is. The local guy who's doing our CCTV has assured us it will take in the whole of that area and the grassy area as well,
Yes.
which includes the cars, sort of will catch cars coming up the lane as well. For people who know the area, it's quite a narrow lane coming onto that grassy area. Sorry, I'm speaking, but it won't work.
Thank you. Any
And,
further questions? Yeah. carry on.
Just one further one. On the signs and notices to respect the residents, are these going to be outside as well? Because at the minute, me being the nearest, or us being the nearest residents, are experiencing quite a lot of noise as the football teams have built up on cars pipping the horns. There's a bit of foul language sometimes off the car park, speeding cars. So I feel that there needs to be a couple of large notices outside as well.
That's
rather than just inside.
that's certainly a possibility. We can definitely put, yeah. I mean, we were anticipating putting them on the inside so that when people leave one of the exit doors, they can see it very clearly, but it's not a problem to put something outside as well.
Thank you. Any further questions?
No.
Thank you very much. Okay. Relevant persons, please. Your turn to make a statement.
Okay. Well, I'm not against the whole of the license. It was just the late night license, which you've added some questions there. I mean, there's some good things coming out of it for the community. But as I say, the noise is built up, and I wouldn't like that noise to go into the middle of the night with speeding cars, etc. And that was my point on a weekend. I personally don't feel that it's necessary to have license after 9 o'clock on Fridays and Saturdays. If it's just once a month or once every couple of months, therefore surely it's better to apply for an extension license if you're having a party or whatever. As I say, it's just the antisocial bit I don't get at the moment. And that was my thoughts. As I say, the license, great, not an issue to 9 o'clock, but after that, and I don't know if the licensing people have been down to the club to have a look at due diligence, but certainly I would think 90% of the people travel by car to that club because it's a destination. It's not something you walk down Cemetery Lane because it's pitch black down there.
Can I just say something that's pertinent? It's not meant to be dismissive, but this committee's job is to consider what happens within the premises. Unfortunately, what happens outside, we don't have a lot of control over. So we have to hope that the club will put up suitable notices and try to get a message across. But unfortunately, that's not under our control, really. I think that's reasonable, isn't it, John?
Well, one leads to another in my view.
I think so.
Yes, Chairman. The responsibility of the responsibility rests with an individual at a certain point from the building. So with the activities within the building is responsibility of the controllers of that building. But beyond, once they're beyond that sort of locale, it is then the responsibility of the individual and how they behave.
Children misbehaving in our local school, the headmaster said, we'll do our best to control them while they're in school, but outside school is not our situation at all, which is probably right, but difficult sometimes. So relevant persons, do you have anything else to say?
No.
You're happy with that? Okay. So it says here, summing up by the applicant. Any questions from the panel? Sorry. No. Okay. So summing up the relevant persons, do you have anything else extra to say? Do you have anything? No. And summing up by the applicant, anything extra you need to say?
Not really, other than I think the people who are the regular volunteers, the committee members, the trustees are very responsible people, and we would do our utmost to make sure that we weren't causing unnecessary problems for the local residents.
Sure, that's quite reasonable.
Could I? Sorry.
You may say yes, of course.
Yeah, but I think it's important that we understand. I think the dynamic around where we will be, and there is an element that I can't think of a better way to say it than suck it and see. If I'm honest, we don't in our own minds fully understand what will happen. What we're trying to do is to provide a facility for the football club. The football activity by 6 or 7 o'clock on a Saturday night will be finished, by 5, 6 o'clock on a Sunday. The rest of the what we're looking to try and do is to create a community space that people at our end of town. We live 40 yards away from Peter, so we have a very, very close interest in it as well. Not just from the football perspective, but what we're trying to do is to create something that is as a hub for the people at our end of town. The building's been there for 30 years. It predates all the current houses. Round us, there are in process, the field below us, there are another 200 houses being built. There is planning going through at the moment, which will happen for another 320. So the site will be enclosed fully on 3 sides, leaving the cemetery and the allotments down one side. At our end of town, there is nowhere for people to go for a drink. And so I think if anybody wants to go for a drink, we do it, and we end up leaving our car in town. We jump in the car, go into town, have a drink, and end up walking home because getting a taxi in Drifield's nigh on impossible. So by doing what we are doing, we believe that the hours beyond what I've previously said will be really about the community using the site and people in the local area being able to just say, oh, I just fancy going and having a quick beer and meet up with some friends. And so the locals will, I believe, after 6, 7 o'clock, be the people who will visit the site, as well as the regular bookings that we hope to have. And I think yourself mentioned about the financial side. As part of the application, particularly through the Football Foundation, who are the second biggest funder after East Riding and Yorkshire Council, we had to present a 5-year plan. That 5-year plan, really, to maintain the site and fund it is really means that we have to be open on a fairly regular basis. However, it will purely and simply depend on people wanting to come and use it, whether that's for a party type thing. We have the cemetery adjacent to us, so perhaps funerals, wakes, those type of things during the day. You know, but we are going to be a little bit reliant, and we'll have to cut our cloth accordingly going forward when we establish where we are. As a club, we're quite ambitious. We have the ambition to move on to a higher level, much the same as Beverley Town have done. And I don't know if any of you are acquainted with this. You know, they seem to be going from strength to strength. We want to mirror that, and we believe that we're probably in a stronger position than Beverley, in that Beverley are a tenant of the cricket club and probably slaves to a little bit to what they want them to do, where we have the opportunity through our long-term lease with the East Riding Yorkshire Council to be able to do it a little bit differently, I think.
Okay, I have to say, I spent an afternoon at the Beverley Cricket Club, and it's quite a nice social
Yeah,
event.
it is.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Very much so.
anything further to add at all? Any of the people over there? You happy?
Yeah, the only Peter mentioned applying rather than having a regular late night license and applying for one-off. Having gone through the application procedure, if the procedure is that every time you wanted to have a party, I didn't think that was a very practical thing to do, and you would have needed quite a lot of advance notice of parties and things.
Nobody ever said it would be easy.
No, absolutely not. So that's why we kind of wanted that coverall to be able to have that facility should it be needed.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Just going to say, but I don't think the applicant, once you've got the license, I don't think the application for an extension is as bad, if you like,
right,
as,
okay. Yeah.
but once you've got the license in place.
Okay.
The only thing I would say with that, though, is that as we're trying to stress, this isn't just about the football club; it's about the community. If we have to close at a certain time, that does somewhat take away people's ability, particularly on a pleasant summer evening, which we do sometimes get at that end of town, to be able to just walk out and go across the road and have a drink. If it isn't open, we can't use it.
Okay, anything further to add?
No, I totally agree with that. We may use it ourselves, you know, at the end of the day, but it's just the late night bit, and you know, I don't understand.
Okay, thank you. Louise, policy advice, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'll start with the temporary event notices because they've just been what's mentioned. So if a premises licence is in force, then obviously on top of that, people can always apply for what's known as a temporary event notice. The temporary event notice effectively acts as a temporary extension or additional permission on top of a licence, or it can stand alone even if no licence exists at all. The normal procedure to apply for a temporary event notice is a minimum of 10 clear working days before any event. And they are limited to no more than 15 events or 21 days in any calendar year. So although those are possible, the other thing that members may wish to be aware of with the temporary event notices is they do not come with any conditions, which means that the operation of the premises during a time a temporary event notice is in place is not regulated the same way it is under a premises licence. Okay. Other than that, Chair, just a reminder, if members were to consider an application today in relation to granting any of the permissions applied for, is that there is a document Annex 2 that's been placed before members and everyone else, which is a tweaked version of the licence conditions that were offered by the applicant to ensure that there is removal of anything that's duplicated by existing legislation or made into such a way that they become immediately enforceable if members were mandated to grant an application. And also a reminder in relation to the Deregulation Act and the impact on the entertainment facilities applied for under today's application. So it does mean that the live and recorded music and indoor sporting events would only be licensable from 11 till midnight, normally if an alcohol licence was to be granted. And if it was to be granted, there would also be a period between 8:30 p.m. and 9 p.m. Sunday to Thursdays, which would also be regulated as no alcohol licence would be enforced at that time. So if members were minded to look at any conditions around the licence, they would only be enforceable at the time in which the entertainment is regulated, if they're related to anything to do with noise as a consequence of entertainment. Is that clear enough for everybody?
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. In that case, that's everything. Thank you, Chair.
Caroline. Legal advice?
Yes, in terms of legal advice, I would just direct you to the director's report and remind you of some useful sections of the statutory 182 guidance. It reminds you that in terms of conditions, that applicants are expected to include positive proposals in their application on how they will manage any potential risks. And obviously I put that forward because obviously some conditions are put forward. So 4.7 of your director's report gives you some guidance in relation to that. Obviously, you are aware that the decision and the determination is yours, and it's your determination what actions are appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives. All licensing determinations should be considered on a case-by-case basis. They should take into account any representations or objections that have been received from, it mentions responsible authorities. In this case, there aren't any, but also other persons, and obviously relevant persons. There's a two written representations, and obviously Mr. Pussey's attended today to make those further representations. And representations made by the applicant or premises user, as the case may be. And your determination should be evidence-based, justified as being appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives, and proportionate as to what it's intended to achieve. And you're reminded at paragraph 14 of your director's report, at paragraph 4.12, that the determination of whether an action or step is appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives requires an assessment of what action or step would be suitable to achieve that end. And it goes on to give you further guidance within that paragraph. But it does remind you at the end of the paragraph, it's imperative that the authority ensures that the factors which form the basis of its determination are limited to the consideration of the promotion of the objectives and nothing outside those parameters. I think mention has been made of necessity, of whether it's necessary to have something, but obviously that isn't one of the considerations. Necessity isn't one of the licensing objectives. So I'd ask you to curtail your deliberations in relation to the promotion of the licensing objectives.
Okay, thank you very much. Now is the time where we actually sit back and go into private deliberations. You're fully entitled to wait outside or go down to the reception and we can come and get you, or if you have to go, you get notified in writing within a week or so, yeah. So thank you very much for attending this morning. I don't know, we normally work on half an hour, don't we? So half an hour-ish is normal. Who knows, it might be 10 minutes, it might be an hour, just don't know.
So I'll come and collect about half an hour's time. And
Okay.
if more time is required, obviously they'll continue deliberating and we'll come and collect you at due course. Thank you.
Thank you very much.